there were probably a few questions being raised around the team environment, considering you guys were cutting it really close to being here. So what's that gonna feel like?
I feel like we deserve to be here, and we just had a rough start to the season because we underestimated everybody else, and we had a big lack of practice because we had storms in New York and people were messing around and stuff. But I think everybody expected us to be here, and so did we.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we're glad that you all made it here. Going into this first set, I mean, obviously you all are big favorites. When you go to a set like this against teams you don't get that much experience against, and you're the big favorites, I mean, is it hard to make sure that you're going in like 100% focused in those matches? How do you all make sure that you're giving even those ones like your best?
Well, we didn't know who we were playing until like an hour ago, so it's a bit difficult, but, you know, we'll do our thing and hopefully we win.
And assuming that you guys do take this victory over Nocturns in your first set, what are some of your thoughts going forward into the next round?
I believe we were a rival second round, assuming they win their set as well. So, I mean, we beat them at Worlds, so there's not much to think about.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick rerun.
It's going to be an easy win.
Even faster than last time, yeah?
Probably, yeah.
No trolling involved?
Yeah, no more dropping games. We got
100% win rate.
100% win rate all the way through the end of the tournament, right?
That's it.
Gotcha.
Well, there's clearly a different level of confidence with you guys. I mean, after winning Worlds, I'm sure that that's got to be such an emotional high, and then coming back into the season with that whole rough start period. But who would you probably say is your primary shot caller at the moment?
I'd say we don't really have a primary. I'd say if we had to give like percentages, it'd be like Mike like 50% about, and then it dilates to like Scream and Salt. They like split it up, and then whatever carries, like me and Ven decide to call things, we just kind of interrupt them. But it's basically just Mike and Salt.
Yeah, mostly Mike and Scream shot call stuff early game, and then I do a good bit later when I rotate. So, yeah.
And I know that you all, since the LATAM teams had to play inside of the team, was it no up ahead of time, but were you watching back like kind of both LATAM teams, see if there's anything in particular, or was there any kind of like prep you had to do a little bit more generically since you weren't 100% sure which team you'd play?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think we really prepped for the teams that we're gonna verse. Not that it's not that we're like being BM and we don't think that they can beat us, but the way we think is like if we play the way we're supposed to play, I don't think anybody here is gonna beat us.
And you said the way that we're supposed to play. Right now in Season 5, there's been a lot of players and teams in general talking about how it doesn't feel as though there's any particular meta. Do you think that that's going to change from this LAN?
I think we've established a pretty solid scrim meta with the players we've been scrimming, and I think we have an idea of what we're going to do and how we're going to execute it. But I don't know if there's an established meta through like the public. I don't know if when everybody watches a game, things are changed every game, so we're not really sure what everyone else is going to do, but we know what we're going to do.
Yeah, and PandaCat, you in particular, are one of the stronger hunters, I would say, right now, even at a time when people think that they're still kind of weaker, maybe just as a class in general. Is the team doing more to try and help you do better, or you feel like maybe you're just a little bit ahead of everyone else? Is it a focus from the team, or kind of just a you thing?
I think this season hunters are left alone a lot more to just kind of do what they want because they're not as impactful as they were last season, so there's no point of paying attention to them as if like I'm a mid laner. So I think my team helps me get to the points that I want to be at, as in terms of levels and experience, but most of it's just they just kind of let me do my own thing.
So assuming that you guys are going to not be dropping any games at all for this LAN, and say you make it into the finals, who do you expect to be meeting there?
Space Station.
Yeah, definitely. Our
Space
scrim
Station.
partners.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, hey, predicting the NA then in the finals. Okay, well, great. Well, then I think that should be it here for us then for y'all. Definitely want to wish you all the best of luck here in your next match, and hopefully throughout the rest of the tournament if you want to go undefeated as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you all are just coming off your first victory here. You're going to be going into your next match up against eUnited. How does it feel already getting to have warmed up in that first set before you go into this next big one?
This really good. Like we warm up, so that's really good. We draft well and we play well, so we are confident for the next match.
Yeah, we are confident. We have been practicing a lot for this tournament, so we hope we will do a good tournament.
Sure, no, I'm not asking y'all to give anything away or anything like that, but have y'all done any specific eUnited prep in particular? Is there anyone maybe that you're looking at or anything in picks and bans that you all are focusing on in particular?
I think we are going to play our style. We want to play our style. Don't try to, counter them or something like that. We watch their games. We know what they played, but we want to play what we know.
Yeah, same. We are going to try our best and try to beat them. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's good to play your own style. Sometimes it's hard to adapt to them, so I like that idea from them. I mean, you've seen probably some of our brackets. You know, not a whole lot of people are predicting y'all to win. I mean, does that factor into the game at all? Do y'all consider that all when you're playing? Like, you know, not that many people picked us, and we could pull off a big upset.
Yeah, we are. It always happened like no one think like Latam can win or something like that. I think we can really win some matches, maybe a tournament, I don't know, but yeah, we are confident.
Yes, I don't care about opinions about Latin. It's okay if they think that we are kind of weak region, but we are here to play. I show them we are good.
Yeah, now, I think that you all as a squad actually have a good bit of experience coming into this one, playing not just as a team, but like even against international competition. I mean, does that help you all going into this matchup, having some of that experience on the team to fall
Yes,
back
of
on?
course. You get a lot of confidence playing in lands, so that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you learn a lot playing against the top tier teams from the world, and it's a really good experience playing against them. Have played against them.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I know you all said that you're going to be trying to play your own game going into this one, but I do want to ask you, is there any player maybe on this eUnited team in particular that you all are maybe a little bit more worried about, or might even feel like is maybe a bit more vulnerable? Anything like that, a player specific that y'all might be looking at?
Yeah.
I think that Benji is really good, but that's it. I don't know.
I think that they are a really good team, not just a player or they have a weak player or a strong player. They are a really good team playing as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you guys. Well, it's been great talking with you here. I wish y'all luck here in your next set.
Yeah,
absolutely. I hope y'all are able to find it.
SmiteVOD looking swag as always, right there with Beltway representing Nocturns, and then of course, y'all know Benji and PandaCat. So,
of course.
Fun stuff coming out from those guys. That's going to be our second set. Defending world champions against the arguably most experienced international team.
Yeah, the little tidbit I had was that don't forget, PBM has lost to Latin America on LAN before. That was with Team Allegiance, and that was a team full of really, really talented players. And that Liched roster actually took it to him at the world stage. Now, a lot of that was on the back of Zaionsix, their mid laner, and they don't have him anymore. But guys like Beltway and Smitero, they have so much international experience. I really don't think it would be a surprise to see close games here against eUnited. And that's not to say that eUnited couldn't end up winning this set in a close, 2-0 or 2-1 sort of situation, and then go on to beat up on Rival and Dignitas and the space stations. I think the Nocturns is really that good. I think they're the best international team here.
I think everybody has understood that we have had two eUniteds this season.
Sure.
I think if we saw week 1 eUnited here, well, they wouldn't make it, but just go with me for a second. Week 1 eUnited versus Nocturns. I mean, I think that's
I'll take Nocturns.
Yeah, like I'm taking black and orange. That's how this team is really solid. I'm excited to watch them play. No disrespect to Southeast Asia or Oceania, but when you look at Brazil and Latin America, which is the team that we're looking at here, I mean, these guys just a little bit more in the tank, both with respect to how they've worked so far and also just how good they are.
Exactly. It's just that international experience is so critical at this world stage. That's why I'm looking at guys like Smitero and Beltway and even Zaionsix and Noitulover. They were more recent additions last year, but they came to the World Championships with this roster. How well is AderHoulder going to be able to hold up, though, in that mid lane up against the reigning MVP from last year's Worlds in Venenu? That's the one that I'm going to be looking at, because I truly trust the duo lane, the jungle, and the solo to perform at an international level now. For this Nocturnes roster, they've been around long enough that I think that we can safely expect that. How well is AderHoulder going to be able to perform?
It's up to the jungle. It's completely up to the jungle. I want to see SmiteVOD just helping out there, making sure that his mid laner is able to sort of survive, because I'm with you. I trust the jungler here. I'm not sure if I'm trusting that mid laner, so allow right there SmiteVOD to go ahead and help you elevate your game.
And SmiteVOD, during his time in international play, has proven that he is excellent at pushing leads. And it seems easy, you get a lead, you get to play well with it, surprise, surprise, but it is different there that you can do that, because you have to be able to find the right spots to play aggressively and not throw away your lead, but also push the right buttons to make sure that you are getting other players ahead with that. And Smitero has proven that he's very, very good at that part of his game. My only concern is when he falls behind, he falls really, really far behind. So if I'm on Nocturns, I'm picking early game, specifically in the jungle and solo side. That's their best chance to win, is hope that Benji picks the Sobek or something slow and then allows Nocturns to get momentum on that right-hand side.
He brings allusions to the Oceanic jungler Envisionize, where he's very aggressive, and that helps him. That's part of his gameplay style. But unfortunately, if your aggression turns to recklessness, then you start to trip over your own shoelaces. So for eUnited with the first pick of the first ban, like you said, probably looking to play their own game, whatever that may be, and really referencing what you said, Nocturnes looking to kind of keep eUnited penned in for a while.
Yeah, that's definitely the call that I would go for, is to just play aggressively, don't be afraid. And that's where I think that experience really comes into play here, is that you expect the boys of Nocturnes to be able to look across the way, see the defending world champions, and still feel like they have a chance to win.
Yes, and I think I don't think I'm doing any. I think this is the team that comes in with that confidence. I don't think I'm spoiling anything if I mention the fact that these other international teams probably don't look at this scenario the same way. But looking at Nocturnes versus eUnited, I think this is a squad. I mean, Beltway and SmiteVOD looked so comfortable up there. I mean, that's another aspect of LAN that we didn't touch on, is the fact that, like, you've got cameras in your face. Sure, you might know me and Ryan and the casters from, like, watching the Pro League, but there's so many production people, there's so many people here. I mean, that can get in your head a little bit as a player.
For sure. It's an overwhelming experience your first few times.
You're in a foreign country for these international teams.
That's also a really big factor of it as well. It is a lot to take in, and to try and compartmentalize all that and just be able to think about your game plan and think about what you've talked about beforehand and to try and execute that to the best of your ability. It's not easy.
So much of what we talk about in consistency, and not just Smite, but competition in general, is comfort and repeatability. And I mean, everything is so different. I was joking with the Australian guys. Even like they went to the smoothie store that Barracuda always goes to.
Yeah.
Even the sizes are everything is different when you come to LAN here, down to the smoothies.
Everything. It's always going to be a little bit weirder, and that absolutely a challenge. You got to feel for these international teams.
eUnited. Not exactly international, very comfortable here. PolarBearMike, player coach there for my money. He's going to stand United, as his shirt says. Ullr, first pick, leaves Achilles open for Nocturnes. And one of the big things I want to bring up is that team play aspect. eUnited, responding to the Ravana pick here for Nocturnes, is a squad that I think largely succeeds thanks to their team prowess, not individual play. They don't necessarily have a basket. They've got Benji, they've got Venenu, but I think as a unit that really stands up. Is that better or worse for a team like Nocturnes to go up against a whole unit?
I think it can be either side of the coin, and it's kind of a cop-out, but
that is a cop-out.
It's very hard to go up against someone who's just clearly better than your entire roster, and then it's like, well, we got to deal with this guy, and if he gets on a roll, then we're in a ton of trouble. But in this scenario, you at least, maybe someone just has an off day. Maybe Venenu isn't used to the weight of the world champion ring on his finger and isn't able to make the plays that you expect from him. Those sorts of things, and it's a team environment like this, maybe you can find that one weakness in whoever's having an off day and try and exploit that. And I think that Nocturne's first two picks are perfect for this sort of situation. Surprised that eUnited leaves open the Achilles in this Ravana pickup. Probably going to the jungle. You imagine Achilles is going to go to Beltway, and that's what I wanted, right? Was aggression on that right side of the map, and Nocturnes immediately go to that with their first two picks. And now eUnited has gone for Sobek, and if that is going to be in the solo lane for Benji, Nocturnes have got to feel like they got what they wanted to some degree.
Absolutely. eUnited showing their cards early, going the double hunter composition, Ullr and Hachi. Likely to see Ullr in the hands of Venenu, but we'll see how the hunters feel about that one. And then, continuing watching this, Janus selected by Nocturnes, another high pick being picked up by Latin America. And continuing our conversation about team prowess versus individual prowess when you're the undercard, I like the fact that eUnited is a team-based team for Nocturns, because Nocturns are a squad that can identify as a unit where the team's going to succeed or fail, and can do that as a unit. And I think that matches up better than the LeBron effect, the basket effect, where there's just one guy that's better than you. I think Nocturnes goes, all right, listen, eUnited won the world championship, and if we're flat out honest, they're probably a little bit better than us. But if we put our head to the grindstone and really think about the strategy, we can come brains above the opposition.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think you're right, and we've talked a lot about it, but Nocturnes have gotten off to a really good start in their if they want to win this game. I think their draft phase has done them a lot of good in that regard. The Janus in the mid lane is going to be able to get away from the Ullr at times, but that's the one. We were talking about AderHoulder already, how well he's going to hold up. Ullr, it seems crazy to pick anyone over Achilles right now with how much success he's had recently, but Ullr is a god that Venenu, if AderHoulder's alone, Venenu can kill him. And there's not many mid laners that can do that right now in the early to mid game. You kind of need to hit level 9, level 10 before that's even a possibility, but by that time, the support is there, the jungler is there, all that kind of stuff. As soon as Ullr hits level 2, you're in trouble of dying right away. So I think this is a great pick from eUnited, but I love, as I already mentioned, Achilles and Ravana on the right side for Nocturnes. I'm just worried, man, that Janus has got to stay near walls, has got to be careful, because you know that Venenu is going to be hunting him.
I love the Janus selection as well, because pretty much for the other side of what you mentioned, the fact that it's a question mark in the middle lane, and Janus doesn't have to be the hard carry. Now, he totally can. He can bring out the unstable damage, and he can bring out the ultimates, but at the end of the day, as long as he is utility for Achilles and Ravana and whatever other damage dealers come out for the Orange squad, I mean, he's doing the job. So Janus is the character that I do want to see him on. Should be interesting there. Second round bans. Nocturne says goodbye to Fafnir and the doggo, and eUnited Jingwei, and thinking about their final ban.
Really like that Fafnir ban. It seems real simple, but those are the sorts of things that can slip through the cracks at a land sort of situation.
Yeah.
See Double Hunter, ban Fafnir. It's pretty much that simple. And then you factor in that PBM plays quite a bit of Fafnir, has had a lot of success on the Fafnir. It's just, that's a slam dunk of a ban.
Still can't hit those hammers, though.
He hits all of his hammers. What are you talking about?
I see you've gone to the PolarBearMike school of trolling and social media.
What do you mean, dude? He hasn't missed a hammer in years at this point. I was just a young lad last time Mike missed a Fafnir hammer.
No, young lad was actually swapped out in week number 4 for Team Voltic in the minor league.
Yeah, week number 4 was the last time Mike missed a Fafnir hammer.
Well done, Ram, for Nocturnes. Late game prowess here. Achilles and Ravana going to be able to handle that early to mid, hand it off to the Hunter. Nocturnes are really setting up a nice blueprint here to set the stage for their first international performances here.
And this is a comfort pick for Zaionsix as well. And on LAN, obviously, Rom gets a little bit better because you have an easier time landing those ultimate shots. So I think this does well. Now, there's not a lot of setup for him quite yet with the long-range snipes, but even things like Ravana Root. Honestly, Janus slow with the threshold could do it as well. This Hercules pickup, though, from eUnited. I love this flexibility. I think that Nocturnes was really hoping that Sobek was going to the solo lane for Benji.
Yeah.
But then that's going to be going to Mike now, I imagine. I can't imagine he's playing Hercules support, especially with a guy like Benji who plays this god so well in that lane. Yeah. Ares' final pick here for Noitulover, one of his favorite selections as well. So a comfort level at LAN against a team like eUnited, you got to go for those sorts of things. And it shuts down a lot of the characters on eUnited, specifically Ullr and Susano.
Yeah.
Really rely on their mobility and don't have CC immunity in their kits. I mean, everyone on eUnited's got a move that's getting crippled out by that Ares, but he's got to be worried because if I'm PolarBearMike now on Sobek, I'm just plucking Noitulover in as often as possible, giving him free initiation because he's going to be dead before he hits the no escape off.
Earlier I said eUnited didn't really have that player that stands above everybody else. I think Benji on the Hercules is that player. Is it enough to win game number 1?
Yeah, I think I've still got eUnited here, but that being said, I love Nocturne's draft.
I just want to go sit down and watch the game, so with that in mind, let's get to it. Bring us the action.
Thank you, FDOT. Thank you, Aggro, Finch, and Taco here for eUnited going up against Nocturnes. And already, we're seeing some interesting picks coming out here, Taco. But I do want to make sure I ask y'all, please vote for who you think you're going to win in that Mixer chat.
As far as the drafts are concerned, though, this is a really strong showing from Nocturns already.
It is, yeah.
I think their mind's in the right place, especially with this Ares pick selection.
Yeah.
That's going to be super important for cutting off a lot of that mobility that they're talking about on the desk, particularly looking at Susano here.
And what a big move, isn't that? Picking the Ares into such a big set here with eUnited. I mean, you got to land those chains. They're not always the easiest. Definitely a lot of confidence coming out from this
It
squad.
is a very bold decision to make because it can go so feast or famine kind of situation there.
Well, we should be ready to move into the game here in just a moment. Going to be eUnited up against Nocturns. Remember, it's not all doom and gloom. If any team were to drop here, they'll be going down into our lower bracket after this, but it is a much harder road back out, and you want to be able to make it to the finals with that advantage.
And going back to what we were just talking about with conceptually the draft being in the right spot for Nocturns, and we already know that Ares is meant to kind of serve as that shutdown factor against gods like Ullr, like the Susano that you're probably expecting to be a little bit more aggressive during that early game stage. But I also think that the Ravana was a very smart pickup here for Nocturns because just in case Venenu does try to look for some of that proxy farm that we've seen happen a little bit with Ullr mid, I don't think that that'll be necessarily possible, because if the Ravana chooses to go from speed to red buff, that should be enough to deter Venenu from looking for that invade. They're just going to have to keep an eye out for eUnited's dual lane.
Well, we do have a brief pause coming out here, Taco. We'll get the players back into the game as soon as possible. We can all see the poll results right there at the bottom of the screen. It is favoring eUnited, but maybe not as much as you might expect. 30% still backing up Nocturns, and I think for good reasons. Their picks and bans looked great, Taco. We were talking about it too. It's not just that they have good gods, but the Achilles, taking that away from Benji. They use their picks not just to get strong stuff for themselves, but to try and hurt eUnited a bit.
I think that eUnited is also choosing not to take the Achilles because they want to see what's going to happen and what will be the heavy prioritization, because by not banning that god, it means that you're not necessarily afraid of going up against it. And Benji being one of the more aggressive players, I think Hercules was certainly the right response for him, because it's going to be a god that he'll be able to slapbox within that solo lane.
And you talked about it during the picks and bans. Like, we're off camera, obviously, for that, so we're just talking amongst ourselves. But this gives Benji a good chance to sort of box in lane. It's not like he's taking a Guardian into this matchup who kind of loses early, like maybe like a Terra or something like that, or an Amaterasu warrior who maybe can't box early. This Hercules is very much going to be able to kind of step up against the Achilles and throw down in lane. And that's what Benji wants to do. He wants to be better than you and then be a monster rotating across the map later. And
I know that most people are probably going to be favoring eUnited here. It's hard not to, considering that they are our previous world champions.
Yeah.
And so in Nocturne's current position, I really like the confidence that this team has already portrayed. Even coming from the pregame interview, it didn't seem like Nocturne feels as though they don't have a chance. But then again, you don't necessarily come into these kind of things expecting to not be able to win, and I love that. I love seeing that from these international teams, and I think also Nocturnes, out of everybody here from overseas, they probably have one of the best chances to make an upset happen. They are the team that's got a little bit of that previous Worlds experience and a little bit of international experience, and I think that by far this is probably going to be one of the more difficult matchups in terms of just kind of establishing the general playing ground here.
And I think that you're right to say that they're confident coming in here to this. And I think it's important to sort of zero in on that, because that's what we learned, I think, in the player interviews a little bit more, is that they feel like they do have a chance here. I even asked them, who on this eUnited roster in particular are you all worried about? And they go, I mean, I feel like Benji's pretty good, but that's kind of like, that's it. Not to take a shot at eUnited, but these players, I mean, they feel like talent-wise or mechanical skill-wise, they're on the same level.
And we mentioned it as well to ourselves, of course, but out of everybody here even, there's also just the concern that eUnited, when we asked them, how did you guys prepare? How do you feel about going into this game? And they're like, we didn't really know who we were playing until about an hour beforehand. And so the LATAM teams did just duke it out between YSO Serial and Nocturnes clearly being the victor here. But I think that it's really important that Nocturnes are able to kind of have the ability to look through the entirety of the Season 5 Spring Split, because they've most likely done a decent amount of homework, which is why we're seeing this drafting come through.
And that's the difference between these two teams, is because of being LATAM North, LATAM South, because they had to do those play-ins, eUnited didn't know exactly who they were going up against until just now, like you said. I think probably they had an idea. Nocturnes, I think, were probably the favorite over YSO Serial. So if they had chosen to prep, that would have been where they went. But like you said, they just focus on playing their own game rather than maybe adjusting things specifically for Nocturnes.
And I think also eUnited don't necessarily feel as pressured right now to bring out everything that we're probably going to be expecting to see from them in later stages. I don't think that too many people are really anticipating eUnited to drop this set. But on the odd opportunity that they do, and Nocturnes, that'd be an insanely hype moment.
Oh, it sure would be. And you're right, eUnited are the clear favorites, but more than any other international team, I think Nocturnes have a shot at this one, man. I mean, we talked about their LAN experience, certainly skilled players, certainly bringing in the confidence, and they've been prepping for eUnited. This composition really feels like one that they workshopped, they knew what they wanted, and now they got a good chance to come in and try and put it to eUnited.
Going through with the double hunter composition, though, I think can introduce a bit of a risk play, because if it doesn't pan out well for them, well, you're rolling with 4 physicals anyway.
Right.
They're really just trying to rely on this Sobek, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see eUnited maybe try to switch it up a little bit here, throw in a bit more of a hybrid, kind of solo lane-esque Sobek build, but in the support role still to kind of maybe fulfill some of that magical damage they could be missing.
Well, that's part of what makes that Sobek pick so strong, right? It has a ton of flex potential. If you want it to do maybe a little bit more damage, it has the numbers there, and if you want to just be straight up the support for the team, you've got that too. So they got a lot of flex option. I believe it was PBM that we saw on it. So, you know, however they want to go with it, they'll have that opportunity. But looks like we're still working on getting everything set up for you all. So actually, let's get back over to the desk to talk over a little bit those picks and bans and this matchup for us, Taco.
Hey, welcome back to the desk, folks. Sorry about that. Well, no apologies. You want to see me in aggro, but we will apologize.
I don't think they do. I really don't. I think
At least
they'd
this
rather
half
see
of the
game.
desk?
Yeah, I think they'd rather. No, I'm saying they'd rather see the game than definitely you. There's probably a couple people that are excited to see me, but you, I mean, they're like, come on, man, I just want to see the game.
Either way, we apologize. That's the wrong guy.
See, now production's on the right train of thought here. This is we don't need you here. This is what you came for, and that's okay. Just accept at this point.
I'm here. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, sorry about the brief delay. We've got a little bit of an audio issue, so we're gonna get that fixed. And for what it's worth, hopefully, and I think we have a brand new studio here. This should be unlike the last times. I think once we kind of get it fixed, we'll put it to bed. So once we get these players situated, everything should be good. In fact, it's right about now. So bring us the game, Taco and Finch.
Taking a little bit of a field trip. He had to check out on some things, but more importantly, we just want to make sure that you guys are getting situated and making sure to come right back into things here. Game number 1 between eUnited and Nocturnes. Should be a really exciting matchup already. We can see Beltway setting up, though, to try and get this invade through. Screammmmm has no idea that Beltway's right behind him. He's still looking for the invade on Achilles. Could possibly have the secure, and he will, in fact, manage to strip that buff away from Screammmmm. Now he's going to make the ultimate play, teleporting straight over to the tower, and it's not done just yet. Noitulover still looking for more. Also manages to strip another buff away from PBM and PandaCat. Talk about setting up for a beautiful start. Already Nocturnes putting themselves in a great position.
Nocturnes off to a good start already, able to get the buff on the duo side of the map, and we're seeing the teleport coming out from Beltway as well. This is something we saw a little bit more of towards the end of the split. The solo laner can kind of rotate a little bit early on, use that teleport to get back to tower, not miss out on any farm, and have tons of influence. Big win for it.
Ader and SmiteVOD gonna make sure to clear out those right-hand harpies, but again, going back to that invade, that is such a crucial moment for Nocturns Gaming. We're already talking about how important the start of a matchup can be, not necessarily because of the fact that they're gonna fall too far behind, but it's just having those buff timers for more frequent invades. You can probably expect to see SmiteVOD rotating over to duo to try and continue pressure on that purple buff.
And Noitulover already looking confident in this duo lane. They've got the early lead that they were able to build for themselves off the buff invade, and this is exactly what an Ares wants, Taco, in this duo lane in particular, to be able to do more damage than you, to be able to force you off these minions. I mean, now eUnited kind of have to play a little bit more passive in the duo lane.
You have to look for that early game pressure, though, whenever you're running an Ares, and it's not even just the one hit onto the duo lane, it's the double whammy factor. Beltway being able to successfully invade Screammmmm on his own speed buff is such a huge net loss towards eUnited, because not only is his mobility more limited on that Susano, but he's also just not going to be able to match the same sort of rotational speed or the same amount of farm you'd probably expect to see.
Well, now we'll see them in the duo lane, trying to get farmed right on up. is going to be the plan here from PolarBear and PandaCat. They've been able to even things up a little bit more, but still got to be careful for Noitulover on the Ares. Checking in, though, with Beltway and Benji over in the solo lane. Looks like a bit of a lead going Beltway's way, and even a lead in the stacks on that Warrior's Blessing as well. So they're going to have to make sure is Benji that he's playing a little bit more careful and not letting Beltway get too big of an advantage there, because those stacks really can be a big factor over here in the solo lane.
Well, whether Benji wanted it to be or not, he's ended up a little bit behind, and it all goes back to that speed buff. And not too many solo laners would take that risk, because it is a pretty heavy risk versus reward situation. If you end up investing your TP that early on as a solo laner, then you might get pressured out in the lane, be forced to back, and then not make it into the lane in time to catch all of that creep XP.
Venenu. We talked about it a little bit earlier on, him and Adair here in the mid lane. There's certainly potential for the Ullr mid to be able to find some one-on-one boxing or even like a kill potential, but Adair has done a good job playing safe so far. It does mean, though, that Venenu's been able to get a little bit of an XP lead for himself, went right into that Transcendence, and he's ready to get it stacking already.
As a Janus, you can't really afford to step up past the halfway mark whenever you're against the Hunter mid, especially not Ullr. He's got the double ability advantage, like we all know, at level 1, being a stance switcher, and establishing that sort of pressure in the mid lane is probably what eUnited needed most, considering that both of their side lanes were put at a deficit pretty early on.
It's going to hurt them out, and we'll see if we can get Venenu to translate some of that pressure. We give a ton of credit, I feel like, to Baskin all the time, but Venenu here for eUnited is a very strong mid laner in his own right, and certainly capable on a pick like this Ullr of carrying a game. So having someone like him in a good spot or winning a lane certainly could be a boon for this squad.
Well, we already saw a pretty fun interaction in mid there. Dead and Smitevo, I think, a little bit off each other, but Benji still managing to pull Beltway back into the tower. Tower shot's going to be enough to secure it, and Benji with the solo kill to start things off here.
Man, this is what this guy can do for you in the solo lane. He's nuts, and this is why Nocturns in particular were saying they were worried about him in the interview. Finds the pull, pushes him back in, hits him with the ultimate, and the tower shots were enough for him to be able to complete it, and it's because early on there, Beltway, I mean, just gets pulled back in, takes too much damage.
Gotta be careful for that Earthbreaker every single time. I feel like Benji in a land environment just doesn't miss on any of those pulls from Hercules, and that's what you need from your solo. That is a very clear statement towards Nocturnes. Notice me or I will force you to.
And it's a good call, too, from Beltway. I get what he's thinking. If he can hurt Benji, how huge is that for this Nocturne squad, right? If he can get a lead in the solo and try and slow him down, but he ends up playing too close. That's the range Hercules loves to play in. Right around that tower line where he can still clear if he needs to, or potentially go for the big push-pull play like we just saw. That's where Hercules feels so comfortable, and Beltway just ends up getting caught out.
And it might not seem as stark of a difference right now between their builds, but Benji having the T2 upgrade towards that Breastplate of Valor, I think is going to be a really important difference to note here, because Achilles, as is, isn't necessarily the most tanky of warriors. Speaking of which, though, Scream going to actually go straight into Noitulover, going to get caught up in that no escape.
That is going to pull him back in, but no immediate follow-up. Zaionsix was not around, and too many members of eUnited on this dual lane side of the map, so instead everyone backs off and lets PandaCat farm this lane up. But that is going to be the ultimate from Noitulover on cooldown.
Have to appreciate those reflexes, though. Didn't even hesitate or skip a beat, just immediately wrapping up into the no escape, not willing to let Scream pull him through on that wind siphon.
But look at Noitulover's build so far, not just the blink which he has, which we see Ares do a lot. It's a very aggressive call, but even going into the those power boots as well, not going for the cooldown or the movement speed we see sometimes, definitely wants to have this impact early. Scream, though, might end up feeling it. Look at the damage coming in through space and time. Gonna put him down. Adair finds it in the back. Now Spatero has to try and find his own way out here. Uses the blink to get on out of there. Venenu not gonna be able to catch him.
Oh, that was hot. That was actually a pretty hot play there between Adair and Smitevo. Although the Raven does end up losing his blink, probably much better than losing his life. Safety, still the primary concern here.
Not much mana for Adair either. If Venenu could find him, it could be trouble. Not able to, but Taco, I'm excited, but I am not surprised. Nocturns Gaming certainly can play at this kind of level. This is what we expected from these players, to be honest.
They're finding the responses that they need to, and sure, we've only seen one kill between these two teams. And as far as experience and gold is concerned, there isn't really a distinct lead between either side just yet, although Benji seemingly having a little bit more of his way here in the solo lane now.
Look at Scream changing up to go with that buckler. Now, it almost feels like, whoa, that damage from Adir was a little more than I was expecting, so maybe some magic defense could help out here in this situation. It certainly feels that way, at least, right?
Well, Scream might be looking to back off a little bit sooner as he's going to find the win safe and onto Beltway. Still investing the Typhoon, and Benji looking for more as well. Fatal Strike going to make sure to avoid the driving strike out of Hercules, and, well, that's just going to be an even swap out.
Yet again, though, Beltway is forced to use his cooldowns defensively, Taco, and that's kind of been the name of the game, I feel like, on the solo side of the map. Benji's been the one in control. They've been forcing Beltway to be reactive. The one time Beltway played up and aggressive, he gets punished for it at the tower line.
And while that might be true, I'm more impressed by Smitero, who's been following Scream.
He's done great,
well. Every single rotation that you think that Scream's going to have the upper hand on with a gank, suddenly it's just Smitero right around the corner looking to counter-punish. And even that first kill in the mid lane, I don't think that Scream was anticipating Smitero to be behind him in the slightest. It was just such nice positioning.
And not just behind him, but it was a ton of damage. Yes, Adair hit pretty hard as well, but Smitero chunked as well. That helped bring Scream down before he really had a chance, I think, to react the way that he would have liked to, and then was forced to try and play retreat. As they have a 3-man grouping here in mid lane yet again. Venenu now level 9 and ready to rock. Adair got a little bit ahead of him in experience, I think, based off that last kill, but Venenu trying to keep even with him.
And Zion trying to get a little bit more frisky there with PandaCat, and kind of needs to. As the ROM, you don't really expect to have lane pressure from the get-go because level 1 stage can be a little bit rough, especially with an Ares, but the purple buff invade is why we don't see PandaCat having as much bully potential because it affected that level 1 through 5 stage a little bit too much. Now Zion has some more survivability between the Rama ultimate and just the boots investment also. That's another pretty big difference here. I think that Devourer's Gauntlet is more that mid to late game investment when you buy it first, and well, Warrior Tabi to start things off means that you're just looking to brawl.
Zaionsix, certainly that would make sense. I mean, he's someone who's been strong in lane and has a tough opponent with him in PandaCat. We talked to PandaCat earlier. I mean, the man is confident. He even said sometimes, you know, the team puts him in a position to try and do well, but sometimes they kind of just leave the hunters alone, and that's where PandaCat feels comfortable here up against Zaionsix in the dual lane, looking for the 1v1 fights.
They are hunting everywhere. eUnited just shoved up on mid lane, shoved up in the solo lane. Benji trying to make invades happen wherever possible. If he can draw Nocturn's attention towards solo, then that'll give eUnited more flexibility to work with in the mid lane. But Venenu's got to be careful here. He's already lost his beats, able to juke out the Ravana ultimate, but it might not be enough.
And now Venenu's trying to retreat on the left-hand side, but on the right side, Scream's able to take down Noitulover. Now Scream going to be there to try and play bodyguard for Venenu, but up in the air, looking for the shot to Zaionsix. Doesn't even need him. Double kill for Adair off the unstable vortex. Put Scream and Venenu in the ground.
Zion just wanted to make them juke so they would slow down their pathing. That way Adair could clip them both with the unstable vortex. That was the game plan all along, Finch.
Exactly how they drew it up, Taco. It's kind of like forcing them back toward the damage from Adair. Obviously, want to get that Janus into a good spot. 3-0-0 now for the mid laner for Nocturns. Level 11 on this Janus pick, and the damage and the positioning has been great from him so far. It's been a concerted effort by eUnited to try and keep him down. Has not worked yet.
And this is where things might start to become a little more problematic if you're eUnited. Going for the Ullr in the mid lane position means that you're looking for pure early game pressure. You want to have the lane advantage, but Venenu has just not been able to find that, and I think it's mostly because of the fact that Smitero has just done a great job watching his rotations.
And not just that, but Noitulover's been there in the mid lane too, right? It's been a lot of help from Nocturns to sort of put these bodyguards around Adair and not leave him there alone. Venenu can't find that 1v1 boxing opportunity that these Ullrs love to take in mid lane as the rest of eUnited continue to aggress into the jungle and aren't really able to find much.
And here's what's so much fun about watching some of the more experienced SPL teams. eUnited, not even the slightest bit deterred by losing out on a couple of these early engagements. They're still the ones trying to be the aggressors. I mean, they're pushed up all the way into Nocturns Gaming jungle towards the red buff even, and I think that when you're going that deep to try and find the pick, it shows that you're hungry.
Or anything they can find to try and slow down Nocturnes at all. Unfortunately, they were just a little bit too early for this red buff spawn, but not too early to pull in Venenu, who has nowhere to go, blown up through space and time, committed, but it's Smitero who finds the last hit on the Raven. They find one more kill. Venenu 0-2.
4 ults to kill a hunter.
It's a lot of ults, yeah.
it's making me feel some type of way. I'll say that much, but that has gotta hurt if you were Venenu. Not a whole lot that he could have done there, though. Had to use those purification beats not even a minute ago, and so unfortunate that they were just about to come up off cooldown, and that's exactly why we see Nocturnes grouping up and looking for that punish. An Ullr, no CC immunity on that ultimate, and I mean, that's the risk you take with the stance switcher against an Ares.
It's a 0% chance Venenu lives there if you commit 4 ultimates. Maybe if you hold one, it's a 5% chance, and they just want to go all the way to 0. Scream has the chains on him. Chunked is PolarBearMike by the unstable vortex damage as well. Dare is swinging. I think that was the Soul Reaver proc that kind of put it to PBM a little bit.
You know what else, too? I really don't dislike that they invested 4 ultimates there, because you're not looking to fight if Noitulover isn't around. I think that playing around this no escape from the Ares is exactly what Nocturnes needs to continue to do if they want to find success consistently on a lot of these engagements.
Yeah, the onus in that situation is on eUnited, not Nocturnes, right? If Nocturnes commits all their ults, they just took the fight they wanted. It would be up to eUnited to find a way to punish them for those being on cooldown. Unfortunately, there wasn't really anything available, especially not with Venenu not there. And Nocturns Gaming, they've got everyone's ults back up, essentially. Adair's is just about there, as is the Ares ultimate, and everyone else has theirs.
That's just part of the heavy execution comp that Nocturnes have gone for here. But it does leave some concerns for the mid to late game. I think that both sides are pretty equal on that standard. Speaking of which, they're going to end up losing that through space and time, through some nice punish from Scream, and that's going to spell the red buff for eUnited as well. Easy little invade happening. I don't think the Nocturnes are very willing to take up this engagement, but they might have to now, whether they want to or not, because the Gold Fury's being pulled.
They just forced the Dare back, so they don't have to worry about the mid lane mage. United take the Gold Fury right in the face of Zaionsix and Noitulover, who couldn't find a way to step in. United take the red buff and the Gold Fury there. They don't get the kill, but now they've been able to even out that gold lead a little bit more, though experience still is in favor of Nocturnes by about 2K.
I didn't get a chance to finish there, but that's kind of exactly what I was just talking about. Nocturnes have this heavy execution composition. Meanwhile, eUnited, I think that they have a little bit more room for error in their draft. You're mostly looking towards that late game stage anyway when you're running the double hunter composition, especially PandaCat. I mean, he went double gloves first item. He's not trying to do anything except farm for the next 20 minutes.
And this is what it's so difficult about facing a team like eUnited, Taco, is that Scream aggressively looking for a dare. If he finds the kill, great, but it's more about forcing him out, forcing the through space and time so that they can come force an objective afterwards, more than it is about looking for picks. So when they make that call that cleanly and immediately start burning the objective, and they have that trust and confidence that they're going to secure it, it's very difficult to try and stop that kind of pull.
The Achilles pickup as well from Scream is a pretty interesting one here. Wasn't sure if he was going to opt for the Runic Shield or the Achilles, and I think he ended up with this Achilles because of the Ares. Having that silence proc for a second could be enough time for somebody else from eUnited to come and CC Noito. That way he doesn't get off future chains or even using some of that burning flames to cut through.
It'll disrupt, like you said, the channeled flames, yeah, could potentially prevent him from finding another chain. So very strong up against him, up against Adair as well. As Scream goes in for the pull, pulls him right back into the Typhoon. They want to blow him up before he can even get the ult off. It does force the beads to come out from Scream. Adair uses through space and time, but doesn't really find anyone. But it does create an escape path for Noito, who retreats. Not going to be the same for Beltway, though, who is willing to try and fight this now. Smiteiro comes in the top side, too, and Venenu is the one who's at half health and forced to use the Aegis.
Venenu's just got to run, but everybody's split up into all sorts of different directions. Fatal Strike won't be able to find the execution. Astral Barrage possibly could, but PBM able to juke out the last shot just in time.
Nocturnes are able to force eUnited back, but eUnited are the ones who go for that red buff invade, so still coming up in favor of eUnited on that fight, despite not being able to find the picks, perhaps, that they were looking for. Nocturnes have done a good job keeping everyone alive, but the map control still kind of feels like it's going eUnited's way.
Scream's beads were pulled, though, because of Noito having to invest that no escape really early on there, and I think eUnited kind of lucked out on that one, that Nocturnes were positioned a lot more passively because they were trying to make sure that the Ares could, in fact, escape. So that made the engagement a little bit more awkward for Nocturnes there. And you could kind of tell that they were stuck in between making a decision to commit or to disengage. And that's the sort of hesitation that you don't want to see as the game progresses.
We're past the 17-minute mark, and the gold lead is all but even up here at this point. Still a bit of a lead for Nocturns from experience. I think that's mostly Adair and SmiteVOD who've done a good job so far farming, and they've got a bit of a level lead over their direct opposition. But eUnited are the ones playing like they're the ones in control of the map so far. They're going for the invades on the red buff over and over again. They're pulling Gold Furies, Taco. Nocturns are not shot calling, and they're letting eUnited kind of play their game.
It's kind of crazy, too, when you think about it, because Scream's been playing so aggressively against this Janus, and he's been probably anywhere from 2 to 4 levels behind Adad since, I would say, roughly the 5-6 minute mark even, and that is somewhat intimidating to a certain extent, I think, when you're a level 11 Susano, for example, trying to step up to the level 14 Janus, but it's just the amount of trust that eUnited seems to place upon each other that I think is one of the main reasons why they're able to look for those aggressive plays.
I think that you were closer to the... It's intimidating if you're Nocturns. You know what I mean? If you've got the level lead and you're like, wait, why is this guy still in my jungle? Why is he still chasing me? I thought I was ahead. eUnited are not deterred in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, that's got to weigh on you a little bit. The confidence, the almost disrespect that they play with when they're coming into your jungle despite being a bit behind and playing like they're the ones that have control.
eUnited are definitely a team that are going to see what they can and can't get away with, though.
Sure.
I think the same could be said for almost any of the NA and European teams that have come to this land. A lot of them, even when they're behind in their regular season matches, they'll still look to be the aggressors because they probably have a better understanding of how much damage they're still able to output, even with those experience deficiencies. And I think that that's a really important thing to always have hovering in the back of your mind.
Gold Fury is back up now, Taco. We've seen that be a bit of a point for these two teams. eUnited were able to pull it, just get it burned before Nocturns could even really respond. So last time what they did is they went and forced away Adair, forced out his ultimate, and then when they had the 2v4, they pulled it really quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if eUnited want to give that just a wash, rinse, and repeat and try one more time and see if they can force out some abilities from Nocturns and then come start it up.
Well, eUnited might have gotten the Oracle Vision on that Gold Fury, but there is a sentry just to make sure that they don't try to rush it down. Adair needs to be careful not to have that through space and time forced again by Scream or anybody from eUnited, really, because that's going to be Nocturne's best threat against eUnited on an objective pool.
Fight is going in. Zaionsix forced to use the Aegis. Noitulover does land the chains, forces. Looks like the roll from PandaCat, who had to retreat through space and time. Committed from Adair, not going to find anyone or really provide much escape. So a couple important cooldowns down for Nocturns.
But that's exactly what eUnited wanted, which is why we see them going back to pulling this Gold Fury yet again. SmiteVOD going to get tail whipped and controlled. Beads not happening in time. Still manages to run away from PandaCat, however, and the rest of Nocturns Gaming stuck on the front end being zoned away perfectly by Benji and PBM.
It's exact same play they used last time. They went and forced out the cooldowns from Adair early on, and then they came and burned the Gold Fury. SmiteVOD looked like he was in trouble, but perfect overhead kick to immune some damage. Had to use the ult defensively. Got on out of there. And once again, eUnited have forced the issue, this time on the Gold Fury. That's 2 of them for eUnited.
I love the little technical plays there that we see at this level of play. PolarBearMike tail whipping at that exact moment wasn't coincidental. He meant to catch the blink from SmiteVOD. He probably knew that the Ravana was hovering on that corner. It's not like you're completely oblivious to spotting out enemies hiding behind those pillars. Speaking of, Benji, no care in the world here against Beltway and SmiteVOD, still looks to invade the blue buff and gets it.
Yeah, Benji was just on the way to his second blue buff there. There are a couple guys around, but that doesn't bother him. He's a Hercules. He's going to play baseball, gets his blue buff, comes back over to lane, and even with Beltway and SmiteVOD there, he's undeterred. He can take the 2v1.
He doesn't take damage, which is
no.
part of the reason why. And it's so odd to see, too, because Achilles is probably one of the more damaging warriors as of late, which is why I think a lot of teams have been seeing so much success with him and flexing him even into that jungle role. Kind of seems like Achilles can do it all if you're looking for somebody that needs to burst, but as far as handling Benji, we're going to have to see some anti-heal pretty soon here, or else Nocturnes could be in a pretty tight spot.
Couple options coming out. Pestilence has been selected, but I mean, how do you even catch this guy? He's even got the wing blade, Taco, so even if you land a couple slows on him, I mean, Benji's just going to be on his way out of there. This guy's so not just doing damage, but very safe at this point.
You see those thorns?
Oof.
Benji's on Zaionsix patrol, and that will be the only person that he probably stands in front of for the duration of any and every team fight, because laning phase has been over for a little bit. I think laning phase ended quite some time ago. Speaking of which, Beltway trying to poke his head on over, gonna eat a little bit of poke damage, but not too much, and through space and time, just gonna whiff.
Adair not able to find anything with the through space and time. The pressure from eUnited forced Nocturns to respond. They're all here now, though, except for Smite, who I think is keeping the waves pushed up in mid. Now Pyromancer being looked at again. The double 100 damaging Venenu and PandaCat is burning through it rather quickly. Beltway controlled, and Pyromancer going to go the way of eUnited. Now they're looking for the fight. Smite comes in on the backside, does find some damage, and force PandaCat into the Aegis, but the chains are on everyone, but no one gets pulled back in. All the CC immunity keeps him alive. PandaCat finally falls, though, to Beltway on the backside. Zaionsix goes up into the air and is looking for the snipes.
Well, it might have seemed
finds him with a
PandaCat. Astral Barrage out of Zaionsix, going to make sure to take out PandaCat, and what looked like such a promising fight for eUnited is still going to be pretty heavily in their favor as they're still going forward.
Noitulover has to back off. eUnited, even though they dropped 2 members here, I agree, still look aggressively positioned. Venenu's getting the pings, though. Benji wants to rotate on the backside and use some of this Ullr damage to find a kill. Takes a tower shot, so he has to retreat. Benji is going to tank it for him, though. Venenu can take this tower and then try and take the fight as well.
More interested in the objective play than the kills, and I respect that. If Venenu spends too much time chasing around, they're probably not going to find either of those kills in a timely enough fashion to where they can safely escape from the rotation that Nocturnes has started to make.
But despite the fact that Nocturnes won the fight, meaning that it was a 2-for-1, Pyromancer goes the way of eUnited. The Tier 1 tower goes the way of eUnited. They've got the gold lead here now as well, about 3,000 in their favor. So even though Nocturnes are clearly capable of sticking with them in a team fight, it doesn't look like they're able to stick with them in terms of map control and map pressure, deciding where to fight, when to fight, and being able to be the one that controls the objective around that.
I have to appreciate those snipes, though, out of Zaionsix.
Yeah.
It was really needed, to say the least, in order for Nocturnes to not completely lose out on that fight. And eUnited, I think that their front line is just a little bit too tanky right now for Nocturnes to handle. And Zion as well, investing towards the crit-based build as opposed to more penetration and attack speed. I think he might end up needing to switch this around unless they're really going to invest that much trust for Ader and Smiteiro to do enough relevant damage.
It is a full grouping from eUnited in the mid lane, though, Taco. They've got Venenu right on the other side of the wall. Gold Fury be back up in about 10 seconds. Perhaps trying to make sure they've got control of this side of the map for when it shows up. Nocturnes are here as well, though. Adair has that ultimate. It's been forced out by eUnited every fight so far. How well he uses it here is going to be important as Benji's on zone duty.
Beltway has also had multiple fatal strikes blocked on looking for that execution, whether it's towards PolarBearMike or towards one of their backline carries. eUnited have just done a great job of preventing that.
Screammmmm on the backside forces the beads from Adair. Beltway gets stunned and plucked right back into the damage. The shots that are coming out from Venenu are swinging. Zaionsix is the one that ends up falling first. 5v4 now in eUnited's favor, and they're looking for the Tier 1 tower. They don't even need the Gold Fury. They got 2 hunters, and they can shred these objectives no problemo, bringing it to the ground. And they want this Tier 2 as well.
I think this is where we start to see some of that experience take place. eUnited still looking for more, barreling down the T2 in mid. Benji gonna eat probably the most damage we've seen him eat all game, and even then, it's still not enough. Through space and time has just not been connecting onto anybody from eUnited.
They haven't been able to have really any kind of setup for it as the Tier 2 tower is taken as well. Gives them map control, gives them a lot more gold. 4,700 now is the gold lead. Experience may be close, but that's not nearly as relevant right now as that gold metric is. And eUnited want to try and make this one even worse. They're grouping around the Fire Giant, and they still have a 5v4 for another 10 seconds. Zaionsix is still sitting out.
It's hard finding the magical secure, though, because they don't have the same confirmation that they would have with the through space and time. PBM, though, going to fall down to half health. Fire Giant really starting to work its way towards it, and rather than look for the toss-up, eUnited are going to back off from the pit. This isn't over just yet, though. Nocturnes picked up right where they left off.
Nocturnes go back in. They want to try and keep it since it's low, but eUnited don't fully disengage. Beltway gets pulled back in, but he's still half health. Screammmmm can't find the damage he was looking for either, and he's forced to retreat. No one takes the Fire Giant here. A good defense from Nocturnes, but they're still not done. Look how they're positioning. They want to try and force eUnited to fight now. Now Nocturnes are pulling the Fire Giant. Venenu and Benji are here to try and make the defense happen.
I think that's wise. Decisive Space and Time is about to come back up, and that'll be a strong confirmation in comparison to the Ullr Bladed Arrow and Hail of Arrows. That's really all the security that you're looking for out of these double hunters, and part of the risk that you take running a double hunter composition.
Not going to be able to completely finish that Fire Giant, so both teams back off of that for now. Nocturns were the ones, or rather, eUnited were the ones who initially started looking at the Fire Giant, so Nocturns being able to slow them down there does help. They do lose their Tier 1 and Tier 2 in mid. That was what happened right before, sort of that minute and a half of a Fire Giant juggle that those two teams are moving through. So eUnited still coming out the better of that prolonged engagement, but at the very least, Nocturns are not fighting into a Fire Giant squad.
I do believe that was also the first time that Nocturns were successful against preventing an objective going in favor of eUnited. I think that eUnited have, for the most part, just been pulling the objective, like particularly looking at Gold Fury here as the primary example. They just pulled the Gold Fury and then they stayed on it, and no one from Nocturnes really did anything about it. We saw a blink-in attempt from SmiteVOD for the steal, but it was so late. Gold Fury had already been dropped that ended up just not really doing anything at all, and the same can't happen on this Fire Giant. Nocturnes have to respond. Double Hunters don't waste any time, and when we saw it just right then and there, Hachiman and Ullr more than enough to burn these objectives.
Pyromancer goes the way of eUnited. Pluck lands on the Beltway right into the damage from PandaCat. Forced him to use that Fatal Strike to get out of there. Axe not going to land either from Venenu, but eUnited have already taken a strong ultimate ability from Nocturnes, and that's something they have not had yet. Imagine if they could have landed one of these executes on the PolarBearMike when he was low, or onto Scream. Instead, that has not been there for them.
And Beltway has to find the Fatal Strike execute, and it has to be early. I think that the sooner Nocturnes finds a pick onto eUnited, the better the fight is going to go, because if the fight continues, Benji's just going to full heal every single time.
Fire Giant was started, but it's been dropped. PolarBearMike goes in. They land the Pluck onto Adair, who's forced to leave with the portal, but the chains are out from Noitulover. Doesn't able to find anyone to pull in, but SmiteVOD's able to find PandaCat. Already a 5v4, but this time in Nocturne's favor. The tail whip is perfect to keep SmiteVOD from chasing Venenu, but not enough. Double kill for the Robin for Nocturns Gaming. Now they have a chance to take down Scream, and they do. Beltway finds that one. 3-0. Nocturnes finally win the team fight, and it's the one they need. Fire Giant going over to Nocturnes.
Benji versus the world right now, and the world being Nocturns Gaming. I don't think anybody would have seen this one coming, Finch, but that fight was all Lat M. And Nocturnes, they're not going to give this Fire Giant up too easily. No, they're just going to go ahead and secure it. Why not? Hercules can't afford to step into that pit. Benji knew he'd probably just be CC'd into his death, and for the first time in a long time, we are seeing Nocturnes not necessarily in the lead in terms of gold, but well, they'll be able to take the towers to get themselves there.
At this point, too, I mean, what, about a 2,000 gold lead? The Fire Giant all but equalizes that one out, if not giving them a slight advantage. So Nocturnes certainly feeling comfortable. What a huge fight for him there, though, Taco, to be able to find those shots. And it was SmiteVOD in particular able to come up big for them and get those last two hits. Even with the good tail whip, he was able to chase down Venenu on the backside.
PandaCat went too far forward. He got a little bit over-aggressive, and he'd been watching himself for the most part, sticking behind PolarBearMike, sticking behind Benji, having his front lines absorb all that damage for him, but just a great shutdown by SmiteVOD and Zion. And I know the first couple of Astral Barrage shots we saw from Zion were a little bit shaky here, but he's clearly found his rhythm. That's the second time that these snipes have been really important for Nocturnes.
And you touched on this earlier, Taco, but there's a ton of towers now for this Nocturne squad to go take down, get some gold, finish off some of these last items. There are still quite a few blessings on the side of Nocturne, some items that are not finished off. So there's plenty for this gold to do for them to try and help them out against this eUnited team. And eUnited looks like are okay with giving up these tier 2s. I was going to ask you, is this the point where you just gotta fight on the Phoenixes anyway?
Well, check out Scream. He's also split pushing in the right-hand side.
Sure.
We'll make sure to back, however, just in case Nocturnes do decide to continue barreling down that left-hand side. SmiteVOD making quick work of the T2 in mid, and this is already such a huge influx of gold for Nocturnes. As you can tell, they shot up from 69,000 gold just even moments ago to 76,000 in tote now. And while gold might not be as important this late into the game, it's still important because they're going to be able to finish off some of those item builds, make sure that they get the red pots necessary or even the purple pots for shoving down and looking for a Phoenix Siege. And they have so much time still on this Fire Giant to work with.
Yeah, we're getting close to the point where the gold won't be as much impactful, but I don't think we're there just yet. Nocturns will maybe have another fight or two where it'll still help some, but just about fully 6-slotted is eUnited on their side, so they're basically done, and this will be now that Nocturns can catch back up to that as well. They have a little bit more time with the Fire Giant, another minute 20 if they do want to come make another push, but I'm thinking they're just going to try and grab these towers. They don't really have time to go for a full-on Phoenix push.
Phoenix Siege going to be rough, though, from Nocturns. I think that eUnited are perfectly content giving up their T1s and T2s because they know Ares and Janus are not exactly the ideal candidates for trying to capitalize on a Phoenix shove. And I say that because they're kind of all-in investment gods. It's hard for Janus to have the same sort of juke around mobility that you see him using all across the map in every which direction. In the Phoenix, it's just one huge circle.
They're going to go for it here, Taco. Nocturns are ready to push in now. They're going to let Beltway be the front line for them, see if we can get some free poke off. Try and force off any cooldowns. All the relics are available for both teams, all ultimates as well, so it's not going to be an easy task if Nocturns want to get in. They're only going to have another 30 seconds, and yeah, that they come in for a moment, kind of dip their toes in the water. A little too cold for them, so they step back out.
They can still choose to siege the T1 and T2 in solo. Wouldn't be too surprised, and sure enough, that's exactly where they're headed. I like this play because it's the safe choice, and more importantly, you don't have a whole lot left on the Fire Giant, considering that they all backed pretty early on, a little bit earlier than what I was expecting them to. But I'm mostly looking towards PolarBearMike on these Phoenix Sieges, and I say that because whoever it is from Nocturns that decides to fully commit inside of that Phoenix pit, I want to see PBM instantly pluck them even deeper into the abyss, pull them straight into all 5 members of your team, and force Nocturns to try and follow up to play Savior.
Now, do eUnited need to come out and defend this next Fire Giant? I mean, it's not such a huge gold lead at this point, right? They can fight Nocturns.
They don't have to, but they probably will. And I think that if you're eUnited, sure, you're looking back at that last Fire Giant fight and thinking, well, that sucked. We probably could have done better. And I think that had PandaCat just not been as far up as he was, they were probably perfectly fine.
Looks like at the very least, PolarBearMike is going to come up and try and get some wards down to see what's going on. Fire Giant, 15 seconds away. And eUnited, I don't believe they are going to be sticking around those Phoenixes. We will be seeing another fight around this Fire Giant pit. Nocturns are here now, trying to come grab some aggressive vision of their own and force eUnited back.
Everyone's still looking for that ward coverage, though, and I like how most of the choke points have been covered here. Scream taking out yet another one, so that eUnited can have the best kind of vision. Venenu still looking for more poke even onto some of the carries, and Nocturne's draft definitely benefits if they're able to pick apart eUnited one by one. eUnited just need to stay more grouped if they want to find success in this Fire Giant brawl.
Fire Giant looked at for a moment by Nocturns, but now they've given up the positioning to eUnited. Benji dashes, finds no one. PolarBearMike has to retreat. Chains coming out from Noitulover, and just like that, positioning swapped right back around, and Nocturns are the one right on the pit, and not just on the pit, but they're swinging at it. Zaionsix has the Fire Giant down to about 50% HP already. Benji's here, and Scream is going to be rotating in on the backside. This will not be free for Nocturns as the fight is just about to kick off.
It won't be free, and they're going to give it up because they'd rather look towards Benji. Sprint is going to be popped from eUnited already as PBM forced back as well. But that's the perfect time to go in. Noitu's still looking for more.
They are going to at least be able to pull in Venenu, but no follow-up. In fact, it's Beltway who's able to find PolarBearMike. Adair had to retreat on the backside. Mystic Rush not going to be able to find Venenu through the Aegis. PandaCat takes down Smite 1-for-1. Benji going to continue boxing up against 3. Can't find the last hit he wants on the Noitulover, who is going to escape. It's going to be Jungler for support.
Oh, and that might have been a little bit too much. PandaCat got spotted on the backside, and that's all the time Zaionsix needs to work with. Scream, though, with a nice cleanup there on that Susano. And Beltway still trying to run away from more. He's got the Mad Guy's Cloak, but it won't be enough here. Scream gets another one confirmed with the Jet Stream, and that's the kind of mobility that you're looking for off of the Susano.
3 for 2 overall in favor this time of eUnited. They still have Venenu, so they have plenty of damage if they need it from this Ullr, but who's going to come in and tank? Scream and Benji are nowhere to be found. Adair is still alive, as is Noitulover, so they have a chance to defend unless eUnited want to wait. But that fight, that was another one that was all spread out. It was the kind of fight that Nocturns wanted, but eUnited were able to come out just that little bit more on top.
eUnited getting closer and closer to figuring out how to properly counter-engage off of Nocturne's draft. There, I like the patience that we saw from Nocturnes, but Noitulover had just taken a little bit too much poke there. So when he went forward looking for that no escape, he's just a standing target pretty much in the air there.
And they were able to try and poke him down. Now United, though, they're going to try and poke down the fire giant. They've already got it pulled. Noitulover's here, but so is PolarBearMike. It's essentially a 1v4 on this fire giant. And eUnited, with the way their respawn timers have worked out, have been able to take it through space and time just a little bit too early. Not going to be able to help them try and take that one away. And fire giant now available for United. Nocturne's going to have to be the ones playing defense after United take it away.
And this right here is the exact reason why all of us have talked about Nocturnes probably being the team to be out of the international stage. This is not going to be some walk in the park, and I'm sure that eUnited have already discovered that. Wouldn't be surprised to see Venenu on a mage in the next round. I do think that that's where eUnited is struggling most, because Mid-Guardian being such a strong item choice now, especially against these double hunter compositions. I'm actually a little bit more surprised that we don't see anyone from Nocturnes having elected to pick up the Thorns even, and eUnited still doing their best to make the most of that. And I really like how they're continuing to shove down this left-hand side. Neither team has the Fire Giant, and this sort of team fight would probably favor eUnited.
United are going to start forcing down the tier 2 tower in duo. You talk some about these hunter builds. You talk about Zaionsix on Nocturnes. He's elected for the double crit path, and you talked about it earlier. Benji has Thorns and the Mid-Guardian. He's happy to stand in front of Zion and try and blow him up.
I wasn't a huge fan at first of the crit strategy out of Zion. I understand it now, though, looking towards this late game stage, because one hunter versus two, in that sort of situation, you need a way to execute them quickly, and probably the best way to do that is to have these crit items available. And eUnited off of that Fire Giant as well, still needing to be incredibly careful and giving respect to Nocturnes, not choosing to siege just yet.
They're going to back up just for the moment, but I don't think they're ready to 100% give up on this one just yet. But you pointed out, Zaionsix needs to make sure that he's focusing the best he can on not Benji and trying to find PandaCat or Venenu. Those few shots that he is able to hit them with, they're going to count just that much more if he can get those crits off. That appears to be the call, as Scream keeps the minion wave pushed up in mid, pushed up in duo as well. Still a tier 2 standing over on the solo side as well.
I want eUnited to continue the split push mentality, though, because that's exactly what they need. They need to make sure that Nocturne's composition isn't all grouped together. That's when they work best. You need that follow-up potential off of these Ares no escapes, and if you don't have everybody grouped, it's not going to have the same sort of impact.
And that's what Nocturnes want. For not just for their team fight, but Smite in particular kind of wants to get lost in the shuffle. If he can come in and find Venenu or find PandaCat and hit him with some of that surprise Robin damage, that's exactly the engage that he wants, as Benji comes in and takes a bunch from the Unstable Vortex.
Hey, Livero is going to be the response out of Venenu, but all but tickled. Noitulover there.
Smite finds Benji on the mid lane, puts some good poke into him, but don't forget he's Hercules, more than capable of getting all this healed up. Going to keep that mid lane split, and Nocturnes have to show their discipline now with this defense, as eUnited are going to repeatedly put them to the very patient test. Benji going to step right up and force a response. It's 2 members for the 2-on-2. Scream has to retreat, takes a good bit of damage, but they do force eUnited back.
But just look at that chunk. That's who's got to be putting in the damage against Benji every single time. That didn't even connect with the Soul Reaver proc. In fact, Soul Reaver just became available again for him to utilize, so the next Unstable Vortex could potentially be huge. It's already enough, though, just to force eUnited back. I think that eUnited are kind of questioning their siege potential.
United are going to be running out of the Fire Giant here in just a few more seconds, and it'll be back up in another minute after that. But yeah, they could not find a way into the base of Nocturnes. And you talked about it earlier. I mean, does not having a mage make sieging harder on the offense as well? I know it could be a little bit harder to defend without that clear, but does that mage poke potential help with your sieging as well?
It's certainly not as effective on the siege. I think that both of these teams are struggling in that sense because as far as frontline is concerned, there's a strong punish in either direction.
Sure.
And I hate to say it, but this also really does feel like one of those instances where the very first pick is probably going to spell the end of it.
And I think that you're right to highlight the punish potential. Benji, at this point, is having a hard time just kind of stepping up. That's what his initiation has been kind of all game long, right? He's like walking at you, and what can you do about it? Well, a dare can unstable vortex you for 40% of your HP bar, even if you're Benji, is what he can do about it. So it's difficult for eUnited to find that initial foot in the door.
Benji was so far ahead in this match. He's been level 20 since like the 20-ish minute mark even. He was farming like crazy.
He was.
Over there in solo. His rotations felt impactful, but I do agree with you. It's going to be a lot more difficult for Benji to have the same sort of effect and the same sort of intimidation factor even, because Nocturnes just don't have to be as concerned about it. He doesn't really deal too much damage. Benji is there primarily to try and zone and absorb abilities.
Benji, though, is going to be keeping the rest of Nocturnes away. Fire Giant's down to about 40%. But eUnited have to drop it as Nocturnes force their way past Benji. It's such a long, difficult game it's been. This is what we were talking about with Nocturnes. They've done such a good job staying even footing with eUnited. Now they have a chance. One big team fight, and they certainly could take a game off the world champs here, Taco.
It's a tough one to call. Even right now, normally you'd expect 43 minutes in, how could an Ares possibly be useful in any shape or form? Well, Noitulover's got the answer. You play the zone factor, and he's just matching Benji. PBM can't really afford to go in because if he does, well, that right there is probably going to be what happens. He's a nice little chunk of his health through that unstable vortex.
Beltway does get plucked back in. Looks like the fight could certainly be starting now. Scream drops the Typhoon, and there's the first pick going the way of eUnited. 5v4, and Nocturnes have lost one of their best frontliners. eUnited can come back towards the Fire Giant. Adair does not have the through space in time either. Nocturnes going to be hard-pressed to try and strip this one away. Benji continues to zone. Fire Giant goes the way of eUnited.
Nocturnes started backing off. I think Adair was flirting with the idea of maybe looking for the steal with just the unstable vortex. Thinks better of it, though, and I think that was the better choice in the long term because Nocturnes in the 4v5, not going to look too hot here. Beltway's still out for another 40 seconds and counting, so this is eUnited's chance.
Yeah, this certainly could be it at this point in the game now, Taco. eUnited forcing into the Phoenix on the right-hand side, and no real way for Nocturnes to try and defend without their main frontliner. Phoenix on the right-hand side comes tumbling down. Much easier the second time around with the 5v4. They'll come right on over towards the mid lane as well. Minion wave not too far, but Taco, I don't even think they need it. There's no way for Nocturnes to step in and even try and put out the damage. Frenzy comes out as well. Mid-Phoenix is in their sights. Mytero going to at least look for Scream, but gets pulled back in. Phoenix falls in the mid lane, and Noitulover has to retreat.
eUnited already got everything they wanted and more, though. They made the first punch. They breached the defenses at last from Nocturnes. Hachiman taking them 43 minutes plus to work their way in there, but fact of the matter is, it finally happened, and now Nocturnes are going to have to constantly play on the back foot. They'll have to worry about the fireways being shoved down those mid and solo lane signs, probably needing to invest a player or two even to look to clear out those waves so they don't end up taking too much fire creep damage against their Titan. And eUnited have quite a lot of time to work with here if they wanted to siege this last and final Phoenix from Nocturnes.
Well, what finally broke the back of that Phoenix Fire Giant siege? Was Beltway just too far forward? Did eUnited find the initiation they needed? I mean, they finally got the straw that broke the camel's back.
Beltway just got plucked into the wrong neighborhood, and he was a little bit too far away from Adair, so Nocturnes couldn't efficiently wrap their way around to prevent the future CC. I also really liked what Scream did, in fact, where he kind of just looped around the backside because everyone's looking towards Beltway and they're like, oh, maybe we should fight because they're forcing us to, and you kind of lose track of the Susano and all of that.
He's able to come in with the Typhoon and finally take Beltway down. Phoenix and Duo is the only one still remaining. We did just see the back, though, from Screammm, so he won't be here for a little while. If eUnited do want to fight, they'll probably wait until they have their jungler as a part of it. PandaCat still making his way up the dual lane side as well. And remember, Nocturns can't afford to just completely bunker down on this Phoenix on the duo side because they've already lost the Phoenix in mid and solo. Certainly fire minions are going to start to be a problem for them, and they can have that continued split focus.
And that's exactly why we see Screammm shoving up those waves. They want to make sure that the fire creeps are as pushed as possible on this next Phoenix siege. Beltway, Noito, and Zion alongside of AderHoulder. Stuck looking to play defense as Mitero's going to try and take on Screammm head-on in the mid lane.
He's going to be the one that's coming over to the mid lane, so a 4v4 will be happening in duo. Smitero's looking for the loop around on the backside, so for a moment, he'll be here before Screammm is. Noitulover goes for the no escape, not going to be able to pull anyone in. AderHoulder is able to blow Venenu right on up, already a 5v4 in Nocturne's favor. And AderHoulder's on the backside, looking for the unstable vortex, forces the Aegis out from PandaCat as well. They defend their Phoenix on the left-hand side. Dare coming up big.
He's just got to be on the run. I don't think anybody from eUnited is going to be able to catch him. PBM, though, might still be looking for it. Both of these T2s are missing. Don't think anybody's had a chance to back yet either. And all 4 members from eUnited just looking for every single possible cutoff route against this Janus.
But he can walk through walls, which, as we've covered, is pretty good. So AderHoulder should be able to make it out of this one without too much trouble. But what a defense from Nocturns Gaming. Being able to find the big burst on Venenu, take him out early on. And then AderHoulder, I like what he did. He's kind of waiting on the retreat. The Aegis was on point, though. I believe it was PandaCat who you looked for. But that unstable vortex certainly could have chunked, maybe even brought him down.
More importantly, Nocturns are going to have a chance now for their Phoenixes to respawn because of the fact that eUnited weren't able to properly siege on that left-hand Phoenix. Giving Nocturns that second life is so important. It can be revitalizing as a team to have such a successful defense when you're in such a tight spot.
Now they'll have a chance. Fire Giant will be back up in about 25 seconds, so everyone from eUnited will be here for that one. But as you said, those Phoenixes at least will be back up, a chance for them to get some health back, and then they'll have a chance to try and make these defenses happen. But taking a look at some of these builds, because we do have a bit of a moment, Benji's gone even towards that hide in the man line. He picked it up a little while ago, but that means now he really is trying to slow down these auto attacks coming out from Zaionsix, and even Smitero to a certain extent if he comes in for the autos, as no way for Nocturnes to defend the fire.
Nocturnes don't even care about moving anywhere near this Fire Giant pit. When your defense is looking that strong, I can't blame them. Why take the chance losing out on a Fire Giant, because these respawns have really started to work their way up there to being kind of ridiculous. And, well, they needed to be. It's 49 minutes and climbing, and I don't think that too many people would have predicted Nocturnes to be going toe-to-toe with eUnited in their very first set.
Might have predicted to be close, but a 50-minute slugfest, maybe not, as Nocturnes continue to force eUnited to play at their absolute best if they want to be able to find this game. Looks like the siege is going to be on the right Phoenix. Remember, this is weakened this time, so it should be a little bit easier for eUnited to take it. And they've got Benji forcing the issue in the mid lane as well. Now he wraps around, and Nocturnes have to watch their positioning. Beltway is the one that could get caught, but instead stuns him. Phoenix still standing, and eUnited not able to find the opening yet again.
eUnited just don't want to catch another through space and time to the face. Venenu and PandaCat both need to survive during these sieges. Otherwise, Nocturnes is probably going to be able to just zone them away.
Beltway going to continue to be the frontliner for him. Look, he's picked up those reinforced greaves. They don't see those a whole lot. That's going to help give him a little bit of extra damage mitigation on the front line as he is able to try and lock down PandaCat. Beltway through space and time comes through, but hits no one. Now the chains come back out. Benji's low, but drops the boulder first. That's going to force Zaionsix to try and find the retreat. Smitero has to retreat as well, and the Phoenix on the right-hand side comes down. Beltway's low, and he has to back off too. Now eUnited can come through the Phoenix on the mid side yet again. Not ready, though, it looks like, to try and push for the end. They've gotten their 2 Phoenixes, the ones that were already weakened, and now they're coming back to another attempt on duo side. And Nocturnes are not in position to defend this at all. Instead, they're going to go for the collapse on the Benji, while Phoenix on the left-hand side gets taken basically for free. Zaionsix is here to try and defend, but over the top comes SmiteVOD. Mystic Rush forces everyone to retreat. Not going to be able to find it with the Mountain Archery as well, and Zaionsix needs the last shot on the Scream. Noitulover finds Venenu and Scream makes it out. Now Adair is able to take down PandaCat as well. 5v3, and eUnited have got to retreat.
This cannot happen for eUnited. They're still looking for more. Beltway going to be able to push it straight into PBM, and quick little Vortex going to make sure that he stays wrapped up, and Pluck might have bought him some time, but it won't be enough as one more unstable Vortex does it.
Can they push out this? Is this enough? I mean, look at the respawn timers. 50 seconds on Venenu at the earliest, 70 seconds on PolarBearMike. If they book it, maybe they have a chance. But Nocturns Gaming, they don't appear to be trying to rush towards them as soon as possible. Benji and Scream certainly capable of putting on a defense.
I don't think anyone from eUnited was prepared for that amount of counter-aggression. Nocturns, as the game goes on, they are just finding every single, or I shouldn't even say finding, they're creating their own opportunities here.
Benji's waiting around the corner to try and defend up against 4 members. SmiteVOD's in the mid lane pushing. Phoenix already at half health, and Benji can't really defend it. Another 10 seconds still on Venenu. Nocturns have to make the call, and it looks like they're making that call right now. They're going to go right for the Titan. Venenu will be back up in 5 to try and make the defense. Nocturns Gaming, at least Noitu is going to be on the Titan, but everyone else zoned away by Scream. Through space and time, blows up the jungler, but the boulder comes through to force everyone back. They're not going to be able to take this one. Benji finds one, PandaCat finds another. No Titan for Nocturns Gaming, and instead eUnited might be the ones going for the reverse pull. Double kill for Venenu, as only SmiteVOD still stands.
And the Titan, they're not even going to need to do anything else because eUnited is going to win off of these minions alone. I respect that call out of Nocturns. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You might as well go for it.
But it looked like they weren't quite sure that they wanted to do it all in, as it looks like these minions are indeed going to be enough. They're right there at the last hit. There it is. Titan ends up falling. eUnited in a 52-minute barn burner. Finally able to take game 1. You can see it on their faces. eUnited may have won, but I don't think they're happy at all. They know that game could have been better. PandaCat and PolarBearMike all looking a little bit stressed with that one, but Nocturns took them to the brink.
That's not exactly the game opener you're looking for. I think that the level of confidence eUnited were showing in that pregame interview might be wavering just the slightest bit right now. I mean, I can say, though, that Nocturns really taking it to them because eUnited were seriously concerned. I don't even think that anybody would have been able to predict whether or not they're going to end up counter-wiping.
What a close game that ended up being, though. But who will be your MVP, chat? Go ahead and vote for us in the Mixer polls. A lot of good choice on eUnited to pick from. I mean, Benji looked great that game. So did Venenu on that Ullr in the mid lane. It's a lot of tough choices. But I got to ask you about Nocturns, Taco. I mean, if the call was to end, it kind of looked like maybe they were moving a little lackadaisically towards the Titan. Maybe they could have done that faster?
I think it was just the moment of hesitation because you see 8 seconds and 11 seconds on the respawn timers respectively. That's a tough one to call and to try and fully commit to. Then they immediately find that pick onto Scream and you're like, yes, we can do this. Until PandaCat shows up with a mounted archery.
And he puts them all to bed. That is going to do it for game 1, but remember it's a 3-game set, so we'll get it over to the desk to break down what just happened.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. So close. Nocturnes come.
This close. So many times they were in control of that game. eUnited stays in it just by getting Gold Furies. That 14-minute Gold Fury for eUnited was huge because that looked like Nocturnes are starting to get some momentum there. Some questionable itemization choices, though, I think, from Nocturnes hurt them in that mid-game. It allows eUnited to come back into it. I'm talking about, where's the Void Shield from Ravana against 4 physical, against double Hunter? You know, why is Noitulover going for Heartward Amulet against 1 Sobek to get 30 power off of your aura? Buy a Witchblade, dude. It's good against the double Hunter and gives you the aura. Some questionable itemization there in my mind. And then I completely agree with Finch. The call to end, if you're doing it without minions, probably number 1, because you got to get there as soon as humanly possible. They take their time, then they kind of waffle on the end call anyways, and they end up getting flattened by it.
Tough stuff there so far. And, you know, we were watching over there backstage and sitting there. That was, I think, if they speed up, they being Nocturnes, sure, I think there's a chance that they win. But what more importantly, I think, is the eject. You got to go and give it a shot. And first of all, hesitation is one thing, but you got to give it a shot. And then when it doesn't work, get out of there. And they just couldn't get out of there.
No, you're committing in that situation. I think that if you're trying to end, as soon as you take one step past that Phoenix, you're dumping everything in order to make it work for you, because you're giving up a lot of HP on your Titan just by being there, because you've got 3 waves of fire minions coming towards you. I don't hate the call overall, and it really was this close because the snipe from Zaionsix misses Scream by a frame or two because he teleports the jet stream. If Scream doesn't survive there, then you see AderHoulder maybe using through space and time on the Titan instead of to kill Scream. As close as you can get to winning a game for Nocturns, and they just come up that short.
Well, right before that play, it was the 4-on-1 split. It was 4 eUnited players trying to break that left side, and then Benji all by himself on the right side. And I think that was pretty representative of the game. Benji, all by himself, did a lot here.
He was your MVP for game number 1. He got the first blood, which was really the only thing that eUnited had going for them early on. That early invade on that speed buff by Beltway ended up working out nicely for them. I mean, they stole it away from Scream and was able to just make that play to invade, steal it away, and then teleport in to that lane, and ended up costing him a little bit, but it still ended up working out okay in that lane. It's just that, man, Benji was such a force in these mid to late game team fights. It seemed like there was no real answer for him. And the other members were dying a lot, just not Benji.
Coach Cardiac there standing in the back. Benji passing by in the short sleeve hoodie. Clerky, we got to talk about this. Anyway, watching.
What, you prefer it to be sleeveless, right?
Yes. Sleeveless hoodie, yes. A short sleeve hoodie, I don't know. It looks like an SSBD. Short sleeve button down, also not a good look. Neither was eUnited in game number 1. But I think the question really is, what is relatively speaking? Because when you talk about, if you're eUnited and you lose to Mashi Boys, no disrespect. Sorry, we're going to be talking about these international teams a lot. There's a talent disparity there, and I'm mad if I'm the coach and we lose to Mashi Boys. Coming this close to a loss to Nocturns, even should they wind up with a loss in game number 2, is this a matchup that, as a coach for eUnited, you're mad about, or is Nocturns this good?
I am mad, but Nocturns is that good.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Look, Nocturns is a really, really good team. If you need more proof than what you saw in game 1, then I don't know what to tell you. This is a team that can compete. But if eUnited is making the right decisions in the right spots in these team fights, the positioning at times from PandaCat and Venenu was a little bit weird. Getting 5-man Ares ulted just shouldn't really be a thing at a competitive level. I feel like that's just a little bit too lackadaisical from eUnited and their positioning in these team fights. But at the same time, a lot of credit it has to go to Nocturns. I was worried about AderHoulder, how well he was going to do in his debut here on the international stage, and he had a phenomenal game on that Janus.
I mean, it was specific to the Janus, but that's sort of what we were saying in Picks and Bans was, look, he doesn't have to be the hard carry if he's going to play the God of Portals. He can just assist his team. What we saw time and time again, what I really liked, was the Ares pull through a portal. Now, sometimes it was defensive and sometimes it was offensive, but at the end of the day, that was something that they clearly had practiced a number of times, and I like to see those things win or lose. You and I discussed the merits and the values of losing last week off camera, and that's one of those merits that I think is really important. When I watch a team win or lose, when you can pull out those prepared strategies, that's really important to showing the deep level of the team you are.
Agree.